The government will soon introduce its law on local content to the National Assembly. Alliance for Change lambasted the government's 7% salary increase for public workers. New job agency hopes to hire 1,000 Lindeners in the following year. In the region, Brazil Black Awareness Month, rights struggle persists 30 years on, and internationally, sexual assault, Uganda's women fight. Greetings and welcome to another edition of Channel 2 Headline News Updates. I am Bibi Bacchus. Thank you for joining us. The government will soon present its local content bill in the National Assembly. The bill could result in Guyana setting stringent targets for companies operating in the industry. The bill's first schedule would mandate a near takeover of oil operations by local goods and services in just 10 years. Though local penetration of the industry is not significant presently, the schedule seeks to mandate a gradual increase in the use of local goods and services based on the government's assessment of the ability of locals to provide. The schedule sets out local content levels to be met by licensed oil companies from the date of effectiveness of their petroleum agreements or license, and for subcontractors from the moment they enter into an agreement or partnership. The draft bill contains multiple tables outlining the percentage of local penetration necessary in the beginning and subsequent years. In employment, the schedule sets out the percentage of posts at different levels for Guyanese in companies' upstream, midstream, and downstream operations. For instance, a company's upstream management post should be 10% Guyanese from the beginning of its agreement and should move to 45% at the 10-year interval. Guyanese are to be given 100% of posts involving unskilled work from the onset. Using a similar system, the schedule seeks to set quotas by sector for the provision of goods and services throughout the 10 years and onwards. Most sectors' quotas for the utilization of local goods and services stands at 85 to 100% of the 10-year target. The bill's first schedule would mandate a near takeover of oil operations by local goods and services in just 10 years. Guyana's draft local content legislation is currently in its consultation stage. His Excellency Dr. Mohamed Irfan Ali says the legislation would be introduced in Parliament before the end of the year. Yesterday, the Alliance for Change held a press conference and bashed the government for the 7% salary increase in posts on public servants. Cathy Hughes, AFC's executive and member of Parliament, stated that a 7% increase, matched with a 14% inflation rate, would not suffice.
The 7% across-the-board salary increase for public servants is unconscionable, designed to further divide our society, and totally out of sync with the economic reality of most public servants and low-income earners. At a time when inflation has hit 14%, a 7% increase just does not cut it. Every household, every small business, the minibus operators, the coconut vendors, the lady selling food, everyone has been affected by the rising cost of living. Small businesses cannot adequately restock, as they have seen sales decline, while most of the cost of supplies to restock has increased. Prices have increased from the most basic of food items. The cost for construction materials have gone up, and for some it has doubled.
He stated that the government was adamant about excluding the Public Service Union and that the union would not have accepted and agreed to such an offer.
It is no wonder that salary increases are not being discussed with trade unions. The government is aware that the workers' representatives would not accept increases less than the inflation rate, so they have forced a paltry 7% down the throats of workers. No consideration for the increased cost of living and suffering of so many. By making the 7% increase across the board, the government will allow for public servants at the higher end of the pay scale to receive more on their salaries, while a pittance is added to the low-income earner.
The AFC executive member went on to say that by making the 7% increase across the board, the government would allow for public servants at the higher end of the scale to receive more on their salary, while a pittance is added to the low-income earners.
This is clearly designed to further divide and increase the divide between the haves and have-nots in our society, to make the richer richer and the poorer poorer. Even the workers earning $140,000 will see less than $10,000 added to their salary. To add a mere 7% to the salary of workers and to take out tax out of that increase is heartless.
Meanwhile, the Uganda Trade Union Congress, in a letter dated November 23, 2021 to President Irfan Ali, signaled their decision and the decision of the Ghana Public Service Union and the Ghana Teachers Union to reject the decision of the government to pay a 7% increase in wages for public servants for 2021. The union's rejection is in light of the rampant inflation affecting workers and the sharp increase in the cost of living. The letter stated that the National Assembly approved $10 billion in the 2021 budget for increases in pay to public servants. This line appears under the Ministry of Finance in the estimates. The 7% proposal amount to $4.2 billion cost to the Treasury. This amount is taxed, so the Treasury claws back some of this money. The unions are urgently requesting a meeting with President Ali to discuss the way forward. Stick around after the break. The Ministry of Health recommends vulnerable individuals to acquire a third booster COVID-19 jab, and new job agency hopes to hire 1,000 Lindeners in the following year.
When you need money and you gotta get it fast, Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop is the place for that confidential transaction in a quiet and secure location. You'll get the highest value per pennyweight for your gold and also enjoy the lowest interest rates and longest payback period too. Yes, for that instant transaction to solve a pressing financial problem. That Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, 46 Boyle Place, that's between the Ministry of Housing on Brick Dam and White Castle Fish Shop, be your first and only choice. Creative Jewelry and Pawn Shop, safe and sound, solid and secure, always there for you. Telephone 231-7878 and 223-8955.
For decades, milk has remained the same. Until now. Introducing the Great Dairy Full Cream Milk from Alabama Trading. Enriched with vitamins A to D and calcium to promote healthy teeth, strong bones, and vitality. Great Dairy Milk is delicious and fortified to encourage healthy cell growth within the body. No wonder it's the #1 brand of milk produced in Ireland. Now available nationwide in 400-gram packages at leading supermarkets and wholesale vendors. Distributed by Alabama Trading.
Furnishing your home or office has never been easier. Here at Kissoon's, our inventory of locally made and imported furniture, offered at amazing prices, will leave you wanting more. From vinyl, floor rugs and carpets, bedroom, dining and living room sets, mattresses, pillows, office desk, chairs and filing cabinets, outdoor benches and tables. We have a piece of furniture for every room imaginable in your home or office. Check out our flagship store at Industrial Site Rijnveld or one of our branches in New Amsterdam, Port Morant, Riverton and Camp Street. Kissoon's Furniture, furnishing homes for over 50 years.
At John Lewis Styles, we carry only first quality men's and women's clothing, footwear, and accessories. As authorized dealers, our items come directly from the manufacturing brands and are available in all sizes and colors. What we sell was never on display in another store. It's time you know the truth about what you buy. Come visit us on Waterloo Street. John Lewis Styles, simply different.
Welcome back. The Ministry of Health on Monday commenced administering the booster dose of the COVID-19 vaccine to persons over 50 years, persons with comorbidities, and frontline workers. Minister of Health Dr. Frank Anthony, during today's COVID-19 update, said the ministry used several medical studies and advice before deciding to make the booster shot available to the public.
Well, there are lots of studies that have been available. I think the very first study that came out showing that you have a weaning of immunity after about 6 months was a study done in Israel. And with that study, which came out on the 17th of July, they had shown that the efficacy of the vaccine weans to about 41%. Then you had other studies that were done, for example, one with AstraZeneca and Pfizer that was published on the 15th of November in Medical Review. And that shows that AstraZeneca, the effectiveness drops to about 44%. Pfizer drops to about 62.5%.
The minister said the US FDA had expert advisory panels and reviewed the data, and those reviews would have concluded that a booster shot is necessary.
In the case of the US, after the FDA would have considered it, you have another advisory panel that would review the same data and then advise the CDC. So we have seen the findings from the CDC that basically recommends an additional dose. So if you had a Pfizer or Moderna, 6 months after the second dose, it's recommended that you get a third dose. If you had a J&J, 2 months after the J&J vaccine, you should get another dose. Sinopharm itself has cited studies out of Argentina where Sinopharm was used quite a lot. And from those studies, they too have seen a weaning of immunity. And again, a recommendation from those studies is that you use a third dose. There are other studies in Europe pertaining to AstraZeneca that shows that it weans after 6 months. And there have been studies done in Russia pertaining to Sputnik and studies in the Middle East pertaining to Sputnik.
To date, 77.5% of the adult population received the first dose of the vaccine, while 53.2% received both doses. In the 12 to 17 age group, 39.6% received the first dose, while 27.5% received both doses. Business Progress Outsourcing firm Midas BPO, in partnership with the government of Guyana, is seeking to employ 1,000 Lindeners in the coming year. The telecommunication company, located in Karakara, Linden, has already employed over 125 persons since its establishment in September. The agency has a rapid employment rate, which sees some 25 to 40 persons employed daily. Madas BPO's Chief Executive Officer Malcolm Sobers said the company is gearing up to create a lasting impact through the creation of jobs while restoring revenue to communities. Being able to provide jobs and have a meaningful impact is greater than the bottom line. We don't want to be a nice shiny object you have for a short time. We really want to become a staple in Linden. The first goal is to become the largest private employer, and we are looking to return real dollars back into the community. End of quote. The telecommunications company has plans to expand its operations to regions 2, 3, 5, and 6. Don't go away after the break. Brazil Black Awareness Month. Rights struggle persists 30 years on, and as COVID cases rise, Europe eyes boosters and compulsory vaccination. But before that, here's the bridge retraction schedule.
Smart Minds Educational Institute, offering preschool, nursery, and primary levels. Finally, a school that is every parent's dream. Located at 69 Crow Street, offering academic excellence, trained qualified teachers, small class sizes, personalized care, and one-to-one attention for your little ones. At Smart Minds, register for full-time or evening classes, daily practice pass exam papers for proficiency at the grade 2, 4, and 6 assessment, and CXE exam preparedness. Or join our Becca Phonics reading and writing program. So if your child is for preschool, nursery, or primary level, come to Smart Mind, located at 69 Street, or call 231-4885 or 600-9229 to enroll now.
Those girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lindeners Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lindeners Jewelry and Pawn Shop, lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again. Lindeners Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Survival Shopping Complex brings to you its delivery service, Shop through WhatsApp. This process is simple. All you need to do is call or message your grocery list to 613-9683 and we will select your items for you and have them delivered directly to you, even out of town. This is convenient because we can stay on the phone with you as we select your favorite brands. We're happy to do your shopping for you. Contact us on WhatsApp today and shop price smart at Survival Shopping Complex.
Kingdom-based taxi service, transportation for every occasion. Short drop, airport, weddings, funerals, and much more. We're located at Lot H. Durbin and Vicingen Road, next to Green City Bar. For honest, efficient, and reliable service, call Kingdom-based taxi service at 648-5959 or 227-7937. You can count on us.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at news in the region and around the world. November is Black Awareness Month in Brazil. The country has the largest black population outside of Africa, and it is the last one in the Americas to have abolished slavery. Brazil's 1988 constitution made promises to amend the wrongs of the past, but 3 decades later, black Brazilians are still battling for their rights. Al Jazeera's Monica Yannick reports.
This meeting takes place every November in the settlement of slave descendants. It's a moment to relive stories of Brazil's dark and silenced past.
Many say slavery is over, but we still feel its consequences and undergo a lot of pressure to leave the lands which are rightfully ours.
62 families live in this quilombo in Mangaratiba, 130 kilometers from the city of Rio de Janeiro. It's one of the 5,000 communities scattered around Brazil, built by former slaves. Many of them had run away, hiding from their masters. The 1988 Constitution gave their descendants the right to claim their lands and keep their traditions, like small-scale farming. That's easier said than done. The Mangaratiba Quilombo has been at the center of a battle with an investment company that wants to build a resort on its lands.
We'll not negotiate our history nor our rights. We're only here today because we resisted. Otherwise, we'd have been kicked out.
Until recently, people who live here were not allowed to enter or leave the settlement freely. They were stopped at the gate, built by the company, and forced to hand over 50% of their produce. That changed when they were put under state protection.
We stepped in because their lives were being threatened and are still at risk. The Eco-Invest company doesn't allow the electrical company to install electricity in the Quilombo.
Edevaldo Felipe blames the lack of electricity for the death of his oldest daughter.
She had leukemia and needed medicine, which had to be stored in a refrigerator, but we couldn't have one because we had no light.
Earlier this year, the Mangaratiba Quilombo scored an important victory. The Brazilian state finally recognized its lands, which include landmarks of the settlement's difficult past.
These are the ruins of one of many plantations in Rio de Janeiro that thrived until Brazil became the last American nation to abolish slavery in 1888.
Yozona Domingos takes her son to the places where their African ancestors were forced to work. Slavery may have ended 133 years ago, and blacks in Brazil now outnumber whites. But the struggle for equal rights, she tells him, is far from over. Monica Yanaki of Al Jazeera, Mangaratiba.
Internationally, a grassroots campaign has started in Uganda against the increasing number of sexual assaults on women. According to one rights group, 90% of Ugandan women have experienced sexual harassment of some sort. Women are now fighting back by using social media and courts. Al Jazeera's Anna Carvel reports.
The campaign against sexual harassment in Uganda is a one-woman operation, at least for now.
He's going to see my phone, then he's going to run away to another room.
Lindsay Kakunda hasn't got much support for her cause yet, but she isn't giving up. She says most assaults happen in busy public places, and hers was no exception. She resolved to take action after she was harassed by a group of men and a policeman nearby refused to help.
Men began shouting at me because I was wearing shorts. I don't understand what that's supposed to mean. And I became scared because the number of men were increasing. And I went to a policeman and I said, can you please help me ask these men to stop shouting? And those policemen looked me up and down and said, isn't that what you wanted?
The campaign doesn't stop at verbal assaults. Zaina Fatuma is a politician from an opposition party and was on her way to a rally when she says police undressed her while arresting her and her colleagues.
No, don't fight, don't fight. Why are you fighting? Why are you undressing me? Why are you undressing me?
Fatuma is suing the Ugandan police, who deny the accusation.
I think they were just like trying to threaten us, especially women, young women who are trying to pursue politics, most especially those ones who are on opposition, like to intimidate us. Because if after being ashamed like that, you be embarrassed.
The government tried to pass a law a few years ago restricting the way women dress. The minister proposing what was known as the anti-pornography bill said it reflected Ugandan values. However, the provisions about dress had to be removed in the face of public opposition.
Dress code in an African environment is supposed to be modest, decent, and non-provocative. But the West has given us that style that you must be sharp, you must be hedged and ready to draw attention and let everybody look at you.
Young women are telling us the same thing. They haven't changed their style of dress. They say their problems started when the government introduced this anti-pornography bill. Shops in Kampala cater for every style, suggesting that some women still feel bold enough to wear what they want. But Lindsay Kakunda's concerned that if women don't stand up for their rights now, they won't have the chance to in the future. Anna Cavell, Al Jazeera, Kampala, Uganda.
And finally, Europe is now the epicenter of the coronavirus pandemic, with countries seeing record high cases, counts, and shortages of intensive care beds. The World Health Organization has warned that there will be high or extreme stress on intensive care units in almost all European countries by March. Al Jazeera's Nadeem Baba reports.
In Paris, the festive displays are grabbing the eye, but so are French COVID-19 rates. A month before Christmas, it's beginning to look a lot like late August, the last time the number of weekly new cases went past 200 per 100,000 people.
Today we're announcing 30,000 COVID cases over the last 24 hours. It's a major increase in infections that shows, if it was needed in any way, that we are indeed in the midst of a fifth wave of the pandemic.
Ferrand's urging people to get vaccinated and have booster shots. Across the European Union, 67.7% of the population is fully vaccinated, but rates vary widely between countries. And the World Health Organization says there's growing evidence protection against infection and mild disease is declining. It wants a vaccine plus approach, combining vaccinations with measures such as face mask wearing, claiming more than 160,000 lives could be saved if mask coverage of 95% was achieved. Daily COVID-related deaths across the EU have reached nearly 4,200, nearly double the level 2 months ago. In Germany, the latest 24-hour figure was 335 deaths, and new infections are at a record high at nearly 67,000. The WHO is warning that by March there'll be high or extreme stress in intensive care units in almost all the 53 countries that comprise its Europe region. At this hospital near Cologne, like in many places, COVID patients needing intensive care are mainly younger, unvaccinated people.
We've increasingly got younger people in intensive care. The amount of time they're treated is significantly longer, and it blocks intensive care beds for a longer period, which are then not available for the care of other patients.
Some German politicians are now advocating compulsory vaccination, at least for specific professions. Austria's already announced COVID jabs will be compulsory for everyone from February, and the country's just returned to a full national lockdown. The measures have seen a large increase in demand at the largest vaccination centre here in Vienna. Meanwhile, as cases rise sharply in the Netherlands, they've started transferring coronavirus patients to Germany to ease pressure on Dutch hospitals. Nadeem Baba, Al Jazeera.
And that is it for today's regional and international news. Here now is your 3-day weather forecast. that is all for this edition of Channel 2 Headline News Updates. Tune in on Thursday at 7 p.m. for another episode. Be sure to subscribe, like, and follow us on Facebook and YouTube. Until then, please take care of yourself and each other.